Good morning. It's Friday, May 26th, and this is To My Liberal Friends. Joe Biden and Kevin McCarthy should both make an appearance on the game Let's Make a Deal. It would never happen, of course, but it sure would be fun to see which door they would take. Here we are at the end of the week, and there's still no deal to be had in the budget and debt negotiations. I still believe there will be a deal made, and in my opinion, President Biden and Speaker McCarthy have an opportunity to both come out as winners. McCarthy's won the PR battle, and the fact that he has forced Biden to the negotiation table after Biden constantly refused to negotiate for the last few months, McCarthy gives him a slight upper hand. Biden is in a precarious position. His approval rating hovers around the 40% mark, while McCarthy is viewed more favorably after his bruising fight to win the Speaker's gavel. More and more Americans are starting to question Biden's ability to lead, and when someone like Hillary Clinton openly brings up the age issue, it has to cause some real worries in the White House among senior staff. Biden generally has the support of the Democratic Party's left wing, but he's waning with moderates. In the February Harvard Capps-Harris poll, a plurality of voters, 42%, believed his policies and State of the Union address were too far to the left, and 56% think his administration has spent too much money in the last 2 years. In the past, Democrats, with the aid of the liberal media, have been able to blame Republicans in any of these budget showdowns. But this time around, I think the Democrats might have a difficult time doing that. Most voters think the Democrats need to agree to spending reductions as part of the debt ceiling increase. They want to avoid a default, and a majority, 57%, think the Democrats should be the one to compromise. And that's according to the May Harris poll. In a recent AP North poll, confirms that finding with overwhelming percentage of the public wanting spending caps in place. While Mr. Biden likes to say he has cut the deficit by trillions, the public realized that he is responsible for the COVID spending binge and not the reduction that followed. It was just natural that the spending would come down. And that leaves Joe Biden out on a limb that could be cut off. He is seen as too close to the left, even as those on the left grouse about what kind of deal he might make. Senator Bernie Sanders said it would be disastrous to pass outrageous Republican proposals and even called for using the 14th Amendment to bypass Congress. At first, Mr. Biden appeared to pull back from the talks, calling the Republican proposals wacko, but now is back at the negotiating table. Outside the negotiating room, where lips have been very tight on both sides about what's being talked about, both parties try to convince the public that the other side's being too extreme. But in the end, they will have to get together on some kind of reasonable compromise. From Biden's position, he is trying to ensure that any spending cuts agreed to are in line with the Democratic core belief, and that means maintaining entitlement and safety net programs. He's in a good position on that because McCarthy has made it clear that Social Security and Medicare are off the table in the negotiations. From McCarthy's perspective, he has to stand firm on tax increases. His proposal to shore up the work requirements on federal welfare programs is popular with the American people. They were a key part of the 1996 welfare reform legislation passed under Bill Clinton and supported by then Senator Biden. But the far left of his party would oppose any cuts in these social programs. That brings us to where both Biden and McCarthy could become winners in this stalemate. If they make a deal and shake hands on it, then the odds of it gaining support in Congress go up exponentially. The losers will be the far left in the Democratic Party and the far right among the Republicans. Both of these factions will object to the deal, and the louder they complain, the better the odds of it passing become, and it helps both Biden and McCarthy. By coming to a centrist compromise, the leaders would boost their support with swing voters who are increasingly fed up with partisan politics, and they want to see bipartisan solutions. Biden will face some vociferous opposition from groups like the Progressive Caucus in the House and senators like Sanders and Warren. But it would be more than likely to give him a boost in the polls, and if the White House staff is paying attention, which I'm sure they are, Biden's now trailing Donald Trump in most polling matchups, especially in key states. McCarthy does have some risk because of the rules in place in order to get him the Speaker's gavel, and some of the far right might try to topple him, but his strength will come from the majority of the Republican caucus and the support from the public for getting something done. I mention the public because polling clearly shows the American public wants a deal, and they want something done about the national debt. They've watched the media talk over and over about how it has ballooned. The polls show that 60% say they want any increase in the debt limit to be coupled with agreed upon terms for reducing the federal budget deficit. They approve work requirements for able-bodied people receiving benefits. Polling, as I've mentioned, also strongly supports reducing spending as people are finally focusing on how large the national debt has become. One other thing that's showing up in polling: people are tired of the negativity of politics and especially the name calling. Biden would do well to stop calling Republican MAGA every time something does not go his way. It seems to be hurting him with people and driving them to Trump. Simultaneously, Trump should tone down his attacks on everybody else that doesn't support him because it's turning people off as well. This has been To My Liberal Friends. Thanks for listening. If you have a comment, please make it. Love to hear from you. And hit the subscribe button.